I think the Philadelphia Eagles made a massive mistake, because with the recent hires of Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are kind of doomed to have another down season. And after watching a particular video in which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, I've been seeing some positive reinforcement that the Philadelphia Eagles might be the team to beat in the NFC yet again. And I just couldn't disagree anymore. So today, let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and why I don't like their recent hires. So let's begin with the actual video that inspired the creation of this video. It was a video made by Football Analysis, who is a very good YouTuber, and I highly suggest you guys check him out, which I'm sure most of you guys already have. He recently made a video discussing the Philadelphia Eagles and why he thinks they could be surprisingly good next year.
Kellen is good at is putting his players in position to succeed. That's one reason I like this hire a lot, and one reason why I think the Eagles' future is as bright as it can be.
And while I think a lot of his points do make sense, I think his points on Kellen Moore are a little bit misleading. And I don't think he really meant to do that. I think he genuinely believes what he's saying. But in this situation, with my own opinion, I'm just going to tell you right now, I could not disagree anymore. He says in his video that the addition of Kellen Moore will help Jaylen Herz in this offense. But I am more on the contrary. If you know anything about me, I've watched a lot of Cowboys football, and this year I watched a whole lot of LA Chargers football. And the brand of football that Kellen Moore is going to bring into Philadelphia is not one that, in my opinion, suits Jaylen Herz very well. You see, what Jaylen Herz is really good at is that quick RPO game, his ability to use his legs, and overall his deep ball accuracy. Jaylen Herz is not really this drop back quarterback who you're going to expect to make deep throw reads consistently over and over again. Hell, nowadays 90% of quarterbacks in the NFL don't really do that. You take away maybe Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes, and maybe guys like Matthew Stafford and Dak Prescott, there's not a ton of quarterbacks that genuinely do that pocket passing quarterback style. And Jaylen Herz is just not that guy. There isn't a coincidence as to why his best year in the NFL thus far was with Shane Steichen, the same guy who loves to run RPOs, quick easy reads, gets the offense going through the screen game, the quarterback run game, and the quick pass game to ultimately open up the deep throws. But in my opinion, Kellen Moore doesn't really do any of that at any particularly great rate. Kellen Moore is more of this methodical move the ball down the field through play action, through intermediate and deep passes. Can Kellen Moore do the underneath stuff, do the RPO stuff, do the screen game stuff? 1000%. But that's not really in his wheelhouse of things he really likes to do. Is Kellen Moore creative at times? I think so. And I do think if he's able to tailor his system to Jaylen Herz, it could be interesting. But that's a big but. At the end of the day, this is an offensive coordinator who's been in the league for several years now and has basically run the same offense ever since he got in. And the other thing that I find very interesting about this hire is Kellen Moore isn't really this seasoned offensive coordinator. Because while yes, he's been an offensive coordinator since 2019, he's only actually been coaching since 2018. You see, Kellen was actually a quarterback in the NFL between 2012 to 2017, before ultimately he did get cut by the Dallas Cowboys and brought in as their quarterbacks coach. And then 1 year later, he became their offensive coordinator. So his rise to offensive coordinator in the coaching space took genuinely 1 year. So that does kind of beg the question as to can he really adjust his style to a completely different brand of quarterback than what he's used to. For Kellen Moore, the transition between Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert was pretty simple because for the most part, those guys play pretty similarly. They're both pocket passing guys who love to get the ball out of their hands pretty quickly and make deep throws with pretty good accuracy. But for Kellen, this is going to be his first time with a quarterback who's nothing like Dak Prescott or Justin Herbert. And I just don't really know if his system fits precisely what Jaylen Herz needs. Yes, Kellen Moore is able to put up these great offenses that have great statistics and can put up a ton of points, but when it comes down to it, they haven't really done anything with those offenses. You see, a lot of those numbers they put up were against pretty bad teams, and the second they went up against good teams, they usually didn't play all that great offensively. And you can put the blame on Dak Prescott or Justin Herbert all you want, but at the end of the day, it also does fall back on the coaching staff as well. Again, statistically speaking, if we're just looking at bare statistics, Kellen Moore has been very impressive. But if you take the curtain off of those general statistics, you start to realize a little bit of the flaws of his system. And this reminds me, I haven't even mentioned the fact that Kellen Moore doesn't even run the ball a whole lot. The last season that Kellen Moore was with the Dallas Cowboys, they only had one rusher with 1,000 yards, and that was Tony Pollard, who had exactly 1,007 yards. And that was with a running back duo of Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. And this is the same season where Dak Prescott missed, I want to say like 6 games, and was throwing a ton of interceptions. Yet they refused to run the ball consistently over and over again, which they probably should have at the end of the season. And then in this most recent year, the LA Chargers only ran the ball 38.97% of the time, which is the 27th lowest in the NFL. Whereas they passed the ball 61.3% of the time, which is the 6th highest in the NFL. Now, I understand the circumstances with the LA Chargers, so I am willing to give Kellen Moore the benefit of the doubt. I understand that Austin Eckler is not a really good running back in general. He's a very good passing running back, but just not that pure running back. And I understand the style of the offense the LA Chargers generally run is more oriented to the passing game. But again, we're expecting a a pass-first guy who doesn't really do a whole lot of the RPOs, screen games, and that creative stuff that really gets Jaylen Herz going to basically overhaul what he does to fit a new personnel group. And I'll make this very clear, I do think this offense is going to be able to do some very good things this year. I think when it comes down to it, the Eagles will dominate teams like the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants, but I just wonder what's going to happen when they face the good teams in the NFL. Because talent for talent wise, the talent on this offense is going to be through the roof, and that's regardless of what Jason Kelce decides to do next year, but I'm still skeptical of what Kellen Moore can do with this offense when it comes down to playoff time. Moving on now to Vic Fangio, and while I don't hate the hire because in a lot of ways he's very similar to what the Eagles have been doing these past couple of seasons, I do think the problems they're going to have next year are going to be a lot of what's kind of happened to them this year. This is a system that likes to force teams to dink and dunk the ball down the field without really giving up the big play because they consistently have safeties over the top. Well, the issue with that is the simple fact that the linebackers for the Eagles are trash, the safeties for the Eagles are trash, and their corners are 30-plus-year-old cornerbacks that have been in the league for so long and they're wearing down very quickly. And sure, they can definitely retool this offseason with some new linebackers, some safeties, and some corners, but that's a big overhaul for just one offseason. And when you're a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, the expectation is to win championships now. But in order to do so, you have to have a cohesive offense to go along with a cohesive defense. And as it sits right now, I just don't know if they have the personnel to match what Vic Fangio wants to do. Because yes, they're going to be used to their system, but I don't think they have the guys in the right positions to do what they want to do. So I think on both sides I have general concerns. Now listen, I'm not concerned one bit about the talent on this roster, especially when it comes to the offensive line, the defensive line, and the overall offense in general. But when it comes to positions of need on the defense, I have some major concerns. And then offensively speaking, I don't think they have the right offensive coordinator for their team. When I was told by a friend that Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, I'll be honest with you, I got a little upset. And that's not because Kellen Moore is a bad offensive coordinator per se, it's just that it's such a weird fit with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I felt like they should have not went down that route. I thought they should have targeted somebody on the Colts staff who's learned under Shane Steichen to be their new offensive coordinator, because you already know that Shane Steichen's system works flawlessly with the Philadelphia Eagles. The identity of the quick RPO, the run game, the quick pass game that opens up the deep ball, that is exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles are. But now with Kellen Moore, I just don't know if that's what's going to happen to this team. And one of the biggest fallbacks of this offense this year was a simple fact that when they got figured out, they couldn't adjust. Well, I'll say the same thing about Kellen Moore. I haven't really seen Kellen Moore ever really adjust either. To my knowledge, I've never really seen Kellen Moore change midway through a game. When the offense isn't rolling because the pass game can't get going, it's not like you can rely on Kellen Moore's run game because he just isn't there usually. And when the run game gets going, he sometimes just tends to abandon it completely. So I think a lot of the issues you've seen with these other offensive coordinators this year, you might see it with them again next year. Now that's a little bit more hypothesis and a little bit unproven, but I do think that philosophy is still in the air. But all in all, I do want to say this. Football Analysis, thank you for the idea. You're a great YouTuber. If you're for some reason watching this video, I mean no hate. You guys don't send any hate to him. He's a great YouTuber. And at the end of the day, this is just my opinion, and I'm sure there's going to be some Eagles fans who do disagree with me. So if that's the case, let me know in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy, hit the like and subscribe button. But I love you guys. Peace.